I am definitely Alright, so I did read a fair amount that was on my TBR pile or list for the month, but I don't really stick to them. I just kind of read whatever I want to read. And right now I'm kind of in a weird reading place in my life because I feel like I've outgrown young adult, but I also have a lot of books that are young adult that I still want to read. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to mix adult books with my young adult ones, and I also want to reread all the books I read when I was in middle school and high school to see what I think of them, which is over, I think, like 100 books. So I have a lot of reading to do, but the first book that I read was Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater, and I love these covers. I know they did cover change, but these ones are the best ones, I think. So this book series was pretty popular, I think around 2011 or 2012. I got this book, or actually my mom got me this book when it first came out because I was obsessed with Twilight, so she thought it was like kind of a Twilight-esque book, but it basically, if you don't know what it's about, it is about wolves and about this girl and this boy that basically fall in love, and there's a bunch of stuff that happens. I know I started reading this when I was younger and I didn't finish it, so when I was reading this I recognized some of the things. I think I got more than halfway through before I didn't finish it, and then I did. So I feel like I would have liked this a lot better when I was younger, but I'm 21, almost 22 now, so it didn't really have the same effect on me. And I'm not much of a werewolf person, but I found myself, I really, really enjoy Maggie Stiefvater's writing. I think it's very beautiful. I have read The Raving Boys and The Dream Thieves by her, and I haven't continued this series, and I read those a while ago, but I really do like her. The next book I read, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people because I've read the last two books, or maybe just the last book in the series when I was very, very young, but I grew up with the movies, not the books, and what I'm talking about is Harry Potter. I read the first book this month, and I found myself that I really did enjoy it. I know I would have enjoyed this a lot more if I was younger, but I still want to read it, and I'm watching the movies along with the books, and I'm actually very surprised at how closely they kept with the books. I think that doesn't happen very often, which I think is a good thing and also a bad thing, because it was kind of line for line in the first movie, and I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. But anyway, I really enjoyed this book. I read Linger by Maggie Stiefvater, which is the sequel to Shiver. Again, I love these covers. I wish she would have kept these covers. They're so beautiful in hardback. I read this, and I thought it was better than the first one because I think the first one was basically, it was just a love story, and you didn't get all of the dynamics that this one had. I thought that the new character in this was really interesting. I forgot his name because I'm horrible. Cole. Cole is his name, and I thought that was a really interesting character. Again, I loved her writing, and I love how we got to delve more into Sam's musical aspect. Like, we get to see him really use that point of his character in this book, and I love that point of the book. I loved how we still got to see the lyrical aspects of someone who thinks that way, which I just think is really interesting. I think what I'm trying to say is that I loved kind of the outline of the story and the author's writing more than I loved the book and the story itself, if that makes sense. I liked aspects of how it was told more than the actual story itself, but I'm still gonna finish these books. But yeah, so I read this one. I can't really say much about it because if you haven't read the first one, then I don't want to give away the second Harry Potter book, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I was just so involved with the story, I had to keep going. I think so far this was my least favorite Harry Potter book. I liked it less than Sorcerer's Stone, but so far Prisoner of Azkaban was I liked Prisoner of Azkaban. Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite movie out of the series. So I felt like the movie was better though. Again, I don't think people will agree with me on this. I don't know if it's just because I'm older, but I'm getting more excited to read the books because I feel like they're going to mature as Harry matures, which I think is so cool in a story. Again, I did enjoy this, and I think that the world she creates is just amazing. So I read this, and then I read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which that's when the books start getting thicker. I really enjoyed this one. Um, Again, I liked the movie better than the book, which is just so weird. And I find that there's like character differences. I feel like Ron is portrayed so much differently in the movies than he is in the book. But again, I just thought this book was great, and I love the characters Sirius and Lupin. I just think they're great, and I don't know. I just really liked it. So the last two books I read were also a part of a series, which I have a lot of series that I need to finish. And I don't know, it's not like a huge thing on BookTube. I think that this series was bigger in the 90s. We didn't have YouTube, so, but it's the Night World series by L.J. Smith, who wrote the Vampire Diaries, and I picked up the new editions, or I guess they're newer editions of the Night World that are on the book outlet, and they're the collector editions, and they're so cool. They're hardcover with no jacket, with the print on them, which is I love it, but these books get dirty. Like, I keep these in my book bag, and I'll try to keep them as clean as possible, but even like if water gets on here, it will stain the book. But anyway, that's probably not what you this one is the first book in the series, and it was previously titled Secret Vampire, which I feel like they should have kept that title because I feel like it's a misleading title. I went into this thinking that I was going to be delved into a vampire night world because I love vampires. It's not the case, but I don't have much to say about this book because I didn't really like it, but I think it's interesting that how these books are going, and they're short, but they're still like they're fun to read. But I also read the second one, Daughters of Darkness, and I thought that it was gonna pick up right where this left off, and it didn't. It went on to show a completely different, or tell a completely different story, but with a carryover of the character Ash, which he was in this book. You will be like, what the heck, that guy is an idiot and I don't like him. But in this book, you were like, you know what? I get it. Like, but he's not that bad. So I like when authors do that. I liked the second one a lot more than I did the first one. And I also have the third one, Spellbinder, and they have like little blurbs in the front so that you see like a certain part of the story before you read it. And again, it is a different story with some characters that were introduced in this book. So I think that's how the whole story or series is going to go. I know there's a lot of books in this series, and then hopefully they all intertwine in the end. Either way, I'm going to keep reading it. I probably would have loved this series when I was younger, but it's still enjoyable to me, and I would like to read these, and the covers are just... they're great. So those are all the books that I read in September. 7 books, which I just think is great for me. So pat on the back for me. If you read more than that, less than that, haven't read a book, you're still, you know what, you're still doing good. So now I'm just going to do a stars of what I would rate these books. Now I have to tell you something. I'm really harsh on rating anything because 5 stars to me is my favorite book of all time that I will reread, that I want anyone to read. It's just my favorite. Like, I haven't found a book like it. So not many books. Actually, I think I've only given one book 5 stars, and I read it a long time ago. So it probably wouldn't be a 5-star book now. I'm still in the search for my favorite read. But so, and then a 4 stars is something that I thought was amazing. It's not my all-time favorite, but it was still an amazing book. 3 stars is something that I really enjoyed, but still it wasn't one of my favorites. And 2 stars was like, you know, it was like, it was an okay read. It was okay. Like, I had issues with it, but I'm not gonna like toss it to the side. 1 star for me is like, it was a read. it was a whatever. And if I really don't like a book, then I'll just be like, no, I didn't like it. I'm not going to rate it. I don't want to like it. So for this one, I write the dates in my books of when I read them. And then I write my rating on it. This book has been sitting on my bookshelf for so long. It's yellowing. I wish I would have written the date that I started this. It was probably in 2012 or 2011. No, it was probably in 2009 because that was when this was published, or 2010 for when the paperback came out. Wow, this is a lot older than I thought. Anyway, I gave this book 1 star. Looking back on it, I would probably give it a 1.5 because I wasn't in the picture frame of the whole story yet when I read the second one. But if you read the first one, it's a YA novel, but I really did enjoy the author's writing. So it was a 1 star. I will finish the series, and alright, yeah. And then Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, I gave 3 stars because I find myself that I really, really did enjoy this book. I think even a little bit more than Prisoner of Azkaban. But I was just in a really busy work week when I read that, so I think I just wasn't enjoying it as much. But I gave this 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. And then I gave Linger 2 stars. A full star more than Shiver because I found myself that I really enjoyed the characters more, the story more, and again, I just love the author's writing and the way that she went about the characters' perspectives in this book. So a solid 2 stars for this one. And then I read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and this one I gave 2.5 stars. I enjoyed it, not as much as the first one. And I read The Prisoner of Azkaban. This one I gave 3 stars as well because I found myself really enjoying it. And then of course the last 2 books I read were the 2 books in the Night World series, Night World and Daughters of Darkness. I gave this one 1 stars. I'm pretty sure. I actually never wrote in this book, but I would give this one a 1 star, and I would give this one a 1.5, not quite a 2, but I did enjoy reading this one. So those are all the books I read this September. I hope you enjoyed it. I have never done a wrap-up video before, so it might be kind of all over the place. Sorry about that. Let me know if you have any video ideas for me. I'm definitely in sort of a reading slump right now. I've only read 1 book, and now it's the 9th of October. So yeah, but that's okay. I feel like reading slumps are good because if we just constantly read all the time, I feel like we wouldn't make ourselves enjoy the books that we read. And then also, I don't know how much I'm going to be reading in November because as of now, I've decided to compete in NaNoWriMo. I think that's how you say it, NaNoWriMo, which I didn't think I was going to do because I've never had any plan to try to write a book, but other YouTubers were talking about it, and I just thought it was really interesting. Whether you publish this or not, it's kind of just testing your ideas, which I think is something that's really cool. So if you want me to do a video on my experience, first time experience, because I've never done it before, on that, let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and comment down below anything you'd like, and I hope you guys have a great October and an awesome Halloween, and I will hopefully talk to you later.